The new set Space Time Smackdown just released, and Darkrai EX might just be the best card in the set. Combined with Weavile EX, its super fast damage style matches well into every deck. In this video, I'll show you how to play Darkrai EX, including my deck list, combos, thoughts on matchups, and battle replays against new decks. Let's go! Our first card is Weavile EX. Weavile EX is a 140 health Stage 1 EX Pokemon with a 1-cost Dark attack, Scratching Nails. Scratching Nails deals a base of 30 damage, and then if your opponent's active Pokemon has damage on it, it deals another 40 on top. So if you're against a full health, it'll deal 30, and if you're against a damaged Pokemon, it'll deal 70. The goal for Weavile is to find a way to damage the opponent's Pokemon as fast as possible before Weavile can get its attack off. So we're going to build our deck around things that can do that. Weavile EX also has a weakness to Grass and has a 1-cost retreat, which is perfect as it's the same as the cost of its attack. Sneasel is a 60 HP basic that evolves into Weavile. It also has a 1-cost Dark attack, Double Scratch. With Double Scratch, you flip 2 coins, and then the attack will deal 20 damage for each heads. Our other main piece is Darkrai EX. Darkrai EX is a basic 140 HP Dark type, and it has the ability Nightmare Aura. Whenever you attach a Dark Energy from your Energy Zone to this Pokemon, you'll deal 20 damage to the opponent's active Pokemon. So this can be done whether Darkrai is on the bench or in the active slot. Darkrai EX also has a 3-cost attack, Dark Prism, dealing 80 damage. It's got a weakness to Grass and a 2-cost retreat. Note how Darkrai and Weavile have the same HP at 140, but Weavile is a Stage 1 and Darkrai is a basic. Darkrai's Nightmare Aura easily sets up Weavile for a buff Scratching Nails, and allows you to have damage scaling as all of your other attacks are super cheap. Since Weavile only needs 1 energy, you can continue stacking energy on Darkrai, dealing 20 damage per turn, and then swap in Darkrai for Dark Prism once Weavile is low. Our last Pokemon is Farfetch'd, a 60 health basic. It has a 1-cost colorless move dealing 40 damage. This is for a high tempo play, going second or for your second turn. Being able to put out 40 damage on your first energy is huge. This is because you're going to combine it with the new supporter, Dawn. Dawn lets you move an energy from one of your benched Pokemon to your active Pokemon. This lets us place a Dark Energy on Darkrai EX on the bench, and then move it to the active Pokemon, meaning we can get the damage from Nightmare Aura and the damage from our attacking active in the same turn. If you open with Farfetch'd in your active and Darkrai on your bench, place the Dark Energy on Darkrai, dealing 20 to the opponent's active, the energy to Farfetch'd, and then Farfetch'd can attack for 40 damage, for a total of 60, one-shotting tons of basics in the game. This is especially relevant against the new card Manaphy, which is key to the new Palkia deck. Manaphy only has 50 health, so it gets easily one-shot by this combo. You can also do this combo with Sneasel, Dawn over the energy to Sneasel, and then flip for Double Scratch. You'll deal either 20, 40, or 60 full damage. Finally, if you went first with Sneasel in the active and Darkrai on the bench, and you have a Weavile in your hand, on your second turn, the first time you have energy, you can evolve Sneasel into Weavile, place the energy onto Darkrai, and then Dawn the energy over to Weavile. This will hit the active, triggering Weavile's bonus against damaged Pokemon, meaning you can deal a total of 90 damage on your second turn. This combo is super strong for a second turn, and you'll be able to pump 90 damage every turn for the rest of the game. While it may not one-shot boss monsters, this combo outputs consistent damage really fast, making you able to burn through the opponent's field before they're able to evolve or scale up their deck. You can access this big damage combo on turn 2 with Dawn, but even without Dawn, you'll be able to deal 90 damage per turn starting on turn 3. Our other supporters are 2 Professor's Research, and then I like to run 1 copy of the new supporter Cyrus. Cyrus allows you to switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon that has damage on it into the active spot. So unlike Sabrina, you'll be able to pick which Pokemon gets swapped in. This will help you secure kills on low HP Pokemon that retreat away to win the game. I also like to run 1 copy of Sabrina. Sabrina forces your opponent to swap other Pokemon to anyone on the bench, but they don't need to be damaged unlike Cyrus. This condition makes it so that Sabrina is better in the early game and Cyrus is better late, as you can't use Cyrus until you've attacked at least once. Sabrina is useful for forcing in Pokemon that can get one-shot by the Weavile combo, slowing down the opponent by forcing them to use retreat cost or X speeds, and also catching retreating Pokemon if they only have 2. Cyrus, on the other hand, can only be used against retreating Pokemon that have already taken damage. However, if the opponent has more than 1 Pokemon on the bench, then Cyrus is going to be better than Sabrina because you can choose the Pokemon that gets sent in as long as it has damage on it. So both of these are used for disruption and confirming kills for points. I've seen people run 2 Cyrus. I think it's up to preference. I like having the Sabrina, especially since we play the Farfetch'd variant, which revolves around one-shotting people in the early game. If we do that, we don't really have a chance to use Cyrus until much later in the game. I run both because I value having the option of using one or the other. A lot of people run Spiritomb instead of Farfetch'd or both in this deck. Spiritomb has a 1 energy attack that deals 10 damage to all of your opponent's Pokemon, whether they're active or on the bench. This triggers Weavile EX's bonus damage, and also makes it so you can Cyrus anyone you want. While these are 2 really good combos, I think it's better to run a Farfetch'd, or better cards like supporters and items, than Spiritomb because Spiritomb needs an extra turn and an extra energy to work. But if you do decide to run Spiritomb, you're going to want to have 2 Cyruses instead. If you don't have any Cyruses, I would just play another Sabrina. And if you're missing either Weavile or Darkrai, I'd combine them with Coughing, Wheezing, and Koga. Last but not least, let's get to our items. We run 2 X-Speeds, which is an item that makes your retreat cost 1 less. Weavile has a retreat of 1, Farfetch'd has a retreat of 1, and Darkrai has a retreat of 2. This lets you save the energy when transferring away, which means you can place your turn energy on Darkrai for another 20 damage. You'll also get access to Dark Prism much faster. Next, I run 2 Pokeballs. These add a random basic to your hand. We only run 5 basics, Sneasels, Darkrai's, and 1 Farfetch'd, but it's really important that you get the pair of Darkrai and Weavile as fast as possible. Farfetch'd is always a good beater, but is mostly a turn 1 play. You could run 2 Farfetch'd, as just a Farfetch'd plus Darkrai plus Dawn is a guaranteed 60 damage on turn 1, compared to Sneasel's flipping heads. However, the extra copy also lowers your chance of drawing into Darkrai and Sneasel, since you're always guaranteed one basic. I'd rather have Sneasel or Darkrai as my only basic compared to Farfetch'd. It also gives us another slot to play better supporters and items. Our next item is Pokemon Communication. This lets you choose a Pokemon in your hand and switch it with a random Pokemon in your deck. If you do 2 Weaviles, 2 Sneasels, or 2 Darkrai's, or if you don't need a Farfetch'd anymore, you can shuffle away a duplicate for a chance at the piece you need. We need Weavile, Sneasel, and Darkrai for a total of 6 copies. So for example, if you had 2 Sneasels and 1 Darkrai, a Pokemon Communication would have a 50% chance to give you a Weavile EX. This just makes the deck a lot more consistent. Finally, we run 2 of the new Pokemon tool, Giant Cape. The Pokemon this card is attached to gets 20 permanent HP. So this both acts as a heal for 20 and increases their max HP. This means that Weavile and Darkrai both go up to 160. This makes it so they can now survive a Side Drive from Mewtwo, a Dimensional Storm from Palkia, a Whirlpool from Gyarados EX, and much more. Giant Cape is essentially a better potion. If you need to just heal 20 health, simply attach it just like you would with a potion. This is my complete deck list that I've been running with and playing on stream. If you have different cards you'd like to play in this deck, let me know in the comments down below. Next up, I'm going to walk you guys through some replays. These are all replays from battles I played today on stream with the Darkrai EX deck. I'm going to walk you guys through my strategy and decision making as I play through different matchups. So let's get started. So this is a matchup against an electric deck. They're playing Zapdos EX and Pachirisu EX, the new card. We opened with Sneasel, Darkrai EX, and the Farfetch'd, as well as a Weavile EX in hand, so we can feel free to play Sneasel first instead of the Farfetch'd. They open with a Zapdos EX and then play a Research into 2 Pachirisus on the bench, and then they play 3 different Pokemon tools. What Pachirisu EX does is it deals an extra 40 damage up to 80 based on if it has a Pokemon tool attached or not. And then the Zapdos has the Pokemon tool Rocky Helmets. This gives it the Druddigon passive where anytime we attack it, we're going to take 20 damage. Now the thing is, Darkrai EX's ability does go through this because it's not a direct attack, it's an ability. So early in the video, I said that I prefer to place the energy on Darkrai first and then place it on Sneasel if I have to choose between one or the other on my first move. In this situation, I end up placing it on Sneasel because I know that since they're playing Zapdos EX and Pachirisu and Electric, there's no way for them to one-shot me even if I attack at 40 damage. The only way would be like if they played a Joltik and then XP'd it out and then Giovanni'd it, but that is just so unlikely. A Farfetch'd would also do it, but really unlikely they're running that. We also Giant Cape our Sneasel since we know we're going to keep it for Weavile EX next turn, and we end up getting rewarded for our play. We hit 2 heads, deal a 40 damage to the Zapdos, which softens up for a one-shot next turn. So we play down our Weavile EX, and we play both of our capes. We use the ability Nightmare Aura by attaching an energy on Darkrai to poke for 20, and then Weavile EX is able to do the final 70 damage. So that clears out the Zapdos EX. They have Pachirisu EX with a ability, with a Pokemon tool attached, and so they're able to do 80 damage to us, but that's not enough to one-shot our Weavile. They concede because they know we can hit for another 90. Our Weavile will go to another 20, and then they either have to kill it with Pachirisu, causing Pachirisu to die and losing them the game, or they're going to have to swap in the other Pachirisu and wait for 2 turns for the energy, and we can just do the same thing where we poke twice for 90, ending the game as well. Alright, next matchup. We end up going first, and we start off with Darkrai EX, a Farfetch'd, and a Weavile. So we're going to play the Farfetch'd in the basic and let the Darkrai scale up our damage. We played first, right? But we have the Dawn, Farfetch'd, and Darkrai combo. So we know we can't attach an energy now, but on our next turn we can. We can attach a energy to Darkrai, poke for 20 with the ability, and then swap it to Farfetch'd for 40 damage. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Since all of their Pokemon have 60 health, we are in range for the combo kill. We attach the Dark Energy to Darkrai for the Nightmare Aura, dealing 20 damage. Dawn the energy onto Farfetch'd, and then Farfetch'd finishes the job with 40 damage onto Gible, scoring us a point. They swap in the other Gible, which they're going to Pokecalm and then evolve. Pokecalm lets you shuffle away one of your Pokemon and gives you a random one from your deck. So that's going to help you find your evolutions faster. They attach 2 energy to Frogadier, which means they probably have a Greninja able to one-shot our Farfetch'd. next turn. So we're keeping that in mind. We end up just attaching the energy to Darkrai again for more poke. And then just, I believe we just poke for 40 again with Farfetch'd. So yep, they end up having the Greninja, and then they can attack us for 60. They also Water Shuriken our Darkrai for poke. That also enables them to Cyrus us if they have that card. We finally find our Weavile and place it on the bench, but at this point we already have 2 energy on Darkrai, so we're probably going to play for a Dark Prism. But here we actually end up using Dawn to poke with Farfetch'd again. The reason we do this is because we drew the Sneasel, right? And we have the Weavile in hand. So next turn we know we can deal 90. So next turn we know we can deal at least 70 damage using Weavile's Scratch because both of their Pokemon are already damaged. So we do end up offering the Sacrifice for the Farfetch'd, which does lose us an energy from the Dawn. However, we're fine with that because we know we have a bunch of tempo left with Weavile EX hitting for 90 each turn. Or at least going from 70 to 90. So we know from here we have the game under lock. We could have saved the Farfetch'd and swapped in a Darkrai to tank a hit from Greninja. Since we do have an X speed, we can swap in a Weavile next turn, but both plays are correct here. There are definitely situations where we don't have an X speed where the the play that I did is the only correct option. But yeah, they end up conceding since we're going to beat them down on the next turn. Let's go to the next replay. So that deck is Greninja plus fighting. So you might run like Hitmonlee in that deck because the Garchomp energies require 1 water and 1 fighting. And Greninja only requires 1 water and 1 colorless to use its move. So that's pretty good synergy. We'll see if it becomes a meta deck. Here we end up actually playing a mirror match. So we open with Sneasel and Darkrai EX as well as another Sneasel and a Pokeball. So now we're just looking for a Weavile. We Pokeball for a Farfetch'd, and then since we're going first, we pretty much just pass. I don't feel the need to Giant Cape already. It's pretty unlikely that they red card us, since we only have 3 cards. We draw into Dawn, so we can do our Darkrai Sneasel combo here. Which is what we do. Darkrai ability, Dawn the energy onto Sneasel, and then hit for Double Scratch. Unfortunately, we flipped 2 tails, so we only end up doing 20 damage total. But happens, you know. So they cape, they go up to 140 HP, and they hit us for another 20. And we have to be wary here because now we know that they have Dark Prism available next turn. We do draw into Sabrina, so we're hoping they don't have a Leaf or an X speed, and that they're going to have to spend another energy in retreating their Ekans. We flip 2 coins here to attack. If we hit 40, we end up killing the Ekans, giving us a point, but we only flip 2, or we only flip 1, but we only flip 1 heads, so we only deal 20. So they do end up having a Leaf, which means they can kill our Sneasel off here with the ability plus the Dark Prism. So now we're forced for a decision, right? We can either sacrifice our Farfetch'd or Sneasel, or put in Darkrai to tank. The obvious choice here is to sacrifice one of our Pokemon, since we have 2 lives here. However, this does leave us open to a Sabrina once the Farfetch'd dies. Sabrina or Sneasel can always get 1 shot if they Sabrina the Sneasel in. So the only option here is to, well, what we can do is we can either attach energy to Darkrai to poke for 20, or we can poke with Farfetch'd for 40, but the Farfetch'd is going to die no matter what next turn, so we want to stack the energy on Darkrai for the insurance of Dark Prism later in the game. We're really looking for Weavile here because Weavile can tank one hit from Darkrai before dying, and so can Darkrai. Unfortunately, I think we draw it a little too late. So what I do here is I end up playing the 20 damage onto Darkrai EX and then play the Dark Prism. So they actually end up donning one of the energies from Darkrai onto Tauros. So we Sabrina to try to get a 1-shot off. Unfortunately, it cannot happen, so they can just swap in and hit us with Tauros, and then they have a Sabrina, so we're forced to concede. Now I'm gonna go back real quick in the replay to see if I could have done anything different. I have 2 XPs here, right? So I could have just XP'd twice and then used Weavile's attack. And then Weavile, right, has a 90 damage attack, or a 70 damage attack, plus the 20 from Darkrai. So by us using Dark Prism here, right, we're only dealing 10 more damage than we would have with Weavile. And then since they have a Tauros charging on the backline, our Darkrai ability plus Dark Prism would one-shot the Tauros, but our Weavile wouldn't. So I think the play is to actually XP twice and then put the Weavile in and then hit the Darkrai for 90 there. But the thing is, this play also lets us use Darkrai's ability to kill off their Darkrai and then swap into Weavile and then attack their next Pokemon that they put in, putting us at a tempo advantage. So if they didn't have a Dawn here, we'd have been good. Because if we put in the Weavile, right, the Darkrai would be at 30 health and not 20. And we wouldn't be able to one-shot it with the ability next turn. We'd have to use another turn hitting the Darkrai, and then they'd be able to attack us with Tauros probably for the game. But yeah, that is just an example of a mirror match. We got unlucky because we hit Weavile super late. And since they went second, they're going to win the head-to-head of the Darkrai 1v1, as well as their Tauros one-shotting us. Pretty unlucky that they got a Dawn there as well, or a Dawn and a Sabrina. All right, next up, we open with Farfetch'd, Sneasel, and Weavile. So we're happy to play the Sneasel Dawn first. So we have Sneasel, Weavile, and Farfetch'd. So we want to maximize our chance of drawing into Darkrai EX. So what we do is that we research first and then Pokeball, since we want to thin the pool of Pokemon as much as possible. If we draw into the other Sneasel, for example, that's going to remove all of the other Pokemon from the pool that aren't Darkrai EX, meaning our Pokeball is going to guarantee a Darkrai. So we got 2 Pokeballs. We draw the other Sneasel. And then we draw the Darkrai EX with the other Pokeball, so that works for us. Giant Cape, since we know we're evolving to Weavile next turn. And then we can pass since we're first. And then since we went first, we're able to do the combo next turn. If we draw into a Dawn, which we do. So we evolve into Weavile, use the ability on Darkrai by attaching energy, and then move the energy from Darkrai to Weavile with Dawn. And then Weavile can attack for 70 damage for a total of 90, one-shotting the Caterpie. They pull in their Bulbasaur, which is 70 health, and they have an Ivysaur on the backline. So we have a Sabrina in hand, and we have a Giant Cape, which we use on the Darkrai. We pull the same combo to one-shot the second Bulbasaur. And actually, and I end up saving the Sabrina here. If they swapped in the Ivysaur, they would have had to, if they swapped in the Ivysaur, it would have died to the 90 combo, so they'd swap in the Caterpie. But now since I've saved the Sabrina, I can use it for next turn to always threaten in case they summon a Venusaur, which they do. Since I already scored 2 points, the Metapod is only 80 points, so I can simply just Sabrina it and then hit it for 90, winning the game. So they're going to just concede that was a matchup against a grass deck, which does have a really good matchup against us, but since we're able to pull off that combo, we're able to kill off their Pokemon really fast, winning us the game. The Venusaur variant that doesn't have Execute is going to be a lot slower and a lot worse fighting against us than the one that does. Alright, this next match, we open with Farfetch'd, we open with Sneasel, and we open with Darkrai. So no Weavile yet. We're playing against Water, and they end up playing Dredagon and Glameow. So we're not forced to Cape here because we have 3 cards. They're probably not going to red card us. But most of the time we're going to use it on Sneasel. Hopefully we get a Weavile here soon. So they have the infamous Dredagon plus Rocky Helmet lock. This means that anytime we attack the Dredagon, it's going to reflect 40 damage back to us. But the thing is, like, Darkrai, it can deal 20 damage with his ability, which avoids the reflected damage since it's an ability, not an attack. So I simply just attach the energy to Darkrai to poke. They end up evolving into Glameow. What Glameow does is it has a 3-cost attack called Interrupt. It's a 3-cost colorless, and it deals 60 damage, and it forces us to reveal our hand, and then the opponent will get to choose 1 card and shuffle it into the opponent's deck. This is shuffle it into our deck, so this is a form of interruption. So we got our Dawn, but we end up placing an energy on Darkrai either way. And then we actually Sabrina here, which may be counterintuitive because it lets them get away with a free swap in, right? since they'd probably have to leaf or use another turn so we can stack more energy. But our goal here is to just kill the Perugly off as fast as possible since they already spent 2 energy on it. So we sprint it in, and then we poke for 20 with Darkrai. We could Dawn in the energy. Actually, no, we can't because we use the Sabrina. What we could have done is we could have also Dawned energy onto Sneasel to poke for double scratch plus the Darkrai onto the Dredagon, which they just potted. But I think killing the Perugly as fast as possible is much more valuable. So they're going to take away one of our cards. They should have taken away the X speed, but we end up getting another X speed anyway. So now we can beam them for Dark Prism. We do end up taking 20 damage from the Rocky Helmet, but it's not very relevant at all. They have another cat on the bench, and they Cyrus us in. So this may look pretty useless, which ends up being, but if I didn't have an X speed, I'd have to spend another energy retreating my Sneasel onto the backline, so I can swap in Darkrai to one-shot the Dredagon. But I do have an X speed, so I can do that this turn. I use my ability to deal 20 damage, and then swap in Darkrai for the Dark Prism for the other 80. Now at this point, or Meow at this point, they have a Perugly, but since they have only 2 energy on it now, they are going to have to tank 2 turns of Darkrai before... They're going to have to tank my next turn of Darkrai before they can attack. Their attack only deals 60, so then we can win on the next turn with another attack. So they end up conceding here. That Perugly deck is probably not going to be meta, but there's going to be people playing it because of the new Team Rocket Grunt, or Team Galactic Grunt, which can search out Perugly, Glameow, Perugly, and then some other Pokemon like Skuntank, as well as another one. But I don't think any of them are very relevant to the meta. Alright, so we play a viewer game here, and they're playing a grass deck. We have Sneasel, Darkrai EX in our first hand, and 2 Pokeballs as well. We're going second, so we have the second attack. Or we have the first attack, but the second move. They Pokeball, and they're playing an Exeggutor. And they're playing an Exeggutor deck with Tangrowth. So this is a bit of a faster variant of the Venusaur heal deck. We draw into Dawn, which means we can do the combo, one-shotting the Execute if we get lucky. If we drew an X-Speed here, we'd play the Farfetch'd, and then an X-Speed on the Farfetch'd to guarantee the combo that will one-shot Execute. Because we need 60 damage, or we need 50 damage to one-shot the Execute. If we only flip 1 head, it's not going to cut it. We have to flip 2 heads. But if we get a Farfetch'd, it's an instant kill. So we end up using the ability for Darkrai, using the Dawn to swap over the energy, and then attack with Sneasel. We luck out really hard and hit both heads, one-shotting the Execute, meaning they can't evolve it into Exeggutor next turn. Because Exeggutor can straight up one-shot us. Since we're weak to grass, Exeggutor can one-shot us with just the base attack. They don't even have to flip heads since it deals 40 plus 20 for the weakness. So it's really key that we got the kill off there. They're going to evolve into Tangrowth, which is a tanky Pokemon that heals itself, and they play the Rocky Helmet, meaning we're going to take 20 damage every time we attack. But we don't have to attack. We can just use the Darkrai. We end up attacking anyway because we're not in any danger. Tangrowth has 3 more energy to go before it can attack us. They're going to heal back up, and they're going to actually retreat into the Tangela. Now we draw into our Weavile, and so we can get our one-shot off with the Scratching Nails. Darkrai triggers the Scratching Nails. 90 damage total. And then we're set to win the game next turn unless they have a heal. It's grass type, so of course they do. They have an Erica, but they're behind in energy too much, so we're going to take the game from here. 90 damage per turn is just super impressive for decks that need scaling like this or a ton of energy, so we're not too afraid of the grass matchup here. So long as they don't get to Exeggutor EX. Alright, and then we rematch for round 2. I do viewer best of 3s on my stream. Y'all are welcome to join and request a best of 3. I'm happy to play y'all and see what decks you guys are building. We end up hitting with them with the same play, unfortunately. So we're playing second. We got Darkrai EX. We got Farfetch'd. We got Dawn. We already know what's up. We already know what's happening. This execute is going away. Boom. Dawn over the energy. Farfetch is for 40. And the execute's gone. And after that, the game just kind of goes the same way as it did before. We just burn through all these Tangles and Shamans. We don't actually end up hitting the Weavile this turn, so it's a little this match, so it's a little slower, but we end up getting the 3 points. Next replay here, we got another Dark Mirror match. Next replay here, we got another Dark Mirror match. We open with a Sneasel and Weavile in our hand, as well as a Pokeball, so hopefully we get Darkrai. We do. So we have all of our pieces now. Now we just need a Dawn, preferably. They open with Coughing. So they're playing the Coughing Wheezing variants. They Pokeball and Giant Cape. Coughing goes up to 90, which is still in one-shot range for the Weavile combo if we hit the Dawn. They play 2 Darkrai EXs on their back line and Pokus for 20 with the Nightmare Aura. We don't end up hitting the Dawn, so we're gonna have to hit for a delayed combo. Here, so as I explained earlier, I think the flexibility is more valuable than the extra 10 damage. They Potion, but they're still in kill range, one-shot range for the Weavile. So we're going to take advantage of that and evolve our second Weavile as well. Oh, actually, they're not in kill range because of the Potion. My bad. We're going to have to kill them next turn. So we can either attach the energy to Darkrai to poke for another 20, or we can attach the energy to Weavile to one-shot the Coughing. I end up just attaching to the Darkrai to poke the Coughing because I want to bait them to swap in the Darkrai in now. Or actually, I just want to X-speed because my Weavile is 100 HP. That means they're in one-shot range of their Darkrai, because the Darkrai will Dark Prism for 80 plus the 20 from the ability. And so we end up X-speeding the Weavile out and swapping in our Darkrai and attacking for 80. We can use a Sabrina, but they're just going to swap in the other Darkrai EX. Now, an interesting point here is that we could have used Sabrina. So they have 2 options here, is to either swap in their powered up Darkrai EX and forcibly take 80 damage there, or they can swap in their other Darkrai EX and then take 80 damage there. So we do have a Sabrina here, which is something we could have done. If we Sabrina, they either have to swap in their charged up Darkrai EX and it'll take 100 damage, or they'll swap in the naked Darkrai EX, also taking 100 damage. That would make either of them one-shot range. It's pretty likely that they would have picked the one without energy to swap in, and then they might have to spend an extra energy or X-Speeds or Leafs to do that. If they didn't have an X-Speed or Leaf, then that would actually delay them by 2 turns, which would be huge for us. Although they'd still be poking for 40 damage during that time with the Darkrai ability. But I actually don't Sabrina because I want to have the flexibility later in the game. So they end up Cyrusing us here, which really hurts. They end up killing our Weavile EX off the Darkrai. And they're playing a Farfetch'd variant as well, but they also have Wheezing in it. So we research here. We play our second Darkrai EX, and we already have 3 energy on it on our main one, so we can just stack Darkrai EX on the back for poke, as well as hopefully another late game option. And then we already Prof Oak, so we can't Sabrina here. It's definitely arguable that we should have Sabrina'd this last turn or this turn to try to force them to use any extra energy, but they have a leaf here anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. They end up leafing out into Farfetch'd. Pokes us for 40, and we only have 1 point, so they're fine with this Farfetch'd dying. They have to swap out the Darkrai, right? Because we're going to kill it next turn and win the game off of it if they don't. So I'm thinking for a while here. Basically what I do is I swap in the Weavile. And I'm thinking for way too long. I Sabrina in the energy-less Darkrai, and I don't have enough time to get the Weavile off, so I am just using Weavile as a tank here. Take 20 damage, they swap in Farfetch'd again. I have another Sabrina. So I can research, I can Sabrina, or I can Dawn. And these are all three different paths you can take, right? But since I'm only 1 life, I pretty much have to always swap Weavile out here into Darkrai. So I end up researching and pulling an X-Speed, which is pretty lucky. So that lets me one-shot the Farfetch'd and bring us to 2-2. Let's look at what else I could have done here, right? If we played any of the other reporters, we got Dawn. What we can do is we can attach energy to Weavile and then retreat into Darkrai EX using that energy, and then Dawn the energy off the Darkrai of our bench to the Darkrai to one-shot Farfetch'd. This is a much safer play because if we didn't have the X-Speed, we're pretty screwed. We can't actually kill Farfetch'd. They would hit us for another 40, and then we'd be in one-shot range for the Darkrai EX. We'd end up getting really lucky with the X-Speed there. So I actually think in hindsight, that might have been the better play since it's a 100% play. We could also Sabrina. So if we Sabrina, right, they're going to swap in the Darkrai EX with no energy right now. The problem is we have no way to both retreat our Weavile and attack with Darkrai at the same time. We'd have to luck out that they don't have an X-Speed, because if they do, right, they can just swap in the Darkrai and beam us again. So if we Sabrina in the energy-less Darkrai, right, they have 1 energy next turn. If they have an X-Speed, they can retreat it back into the Farfetch'd, and then we're going to be in the same gameplay loop, because we also have to retreat our Weavile into the 140 HP Darkrai. And then after that, if we swing on the Farfetch'd, they can swing on us for 100 damage, ending the game. So I don't think Sabrina is the option here. We end up getting really lucky and having the same outcome that we would have with the Dawn. Wipe the Farfetch'd here. And so from here on out, they're actually stuck here. They can't one-shot our Darkrai, and if they put in their Darkrai, it's gonna get one-shot by ours. So they're here thinking for a while, they just poke us, and then we have a Sabrina, so we can kill here. And that's the game. So this is another mirror match where we actually won this time. This time we went first. We won the mirror match while going first, unlike the first time. But here we opened with the Weavile combo. We didn't open with the Dawn combo, but we opened with the Weavile at least, putting a lot of pressure on. Whereas in the last mirror match, we didn't open with Weavile at all. So this just goes to show the difference that your pace is going to be at if you don't draw into Weavile, which is why we run that 1 Pokecom. Some people even run 2. Here is a matchup against the new Palkia, Vaporeon, and Manaphy deck. Actually, no, this one is... So here's a matchup against a Lapras EX player with Palkia. I haven't seen Lapras EX since it released. The card is just not good. But they have a Misty, Flip Tails. We Pokeball, we draw into Farfetch'd. We don't have a Weavile quite yet, but we can do the Dawn combo onto Sneasel. We also play both Capes because we're hoping to eventually draw into Weavile. Our Sneasel ends up flipping 1 head, so we deal 40 total damage. Just going for poke. So we don't end up drawing into a Weavile, which kind of sucks. But we end up flipping 2 heads, so 60 total damage this turn, not bad at all. And then next turn, we're going to be able to kill the Lapras off if we get at least 1 heads. They hit a second Misty, and they only flip 1 heads there. They stack onto Palkia. I think they should have just stacked both energies onto Dialga. Or stacked onto Starmie. Like, splitting there is... I think they should just stack both on the Starmie, actually, just for the bonus damage. Because the thing with Palkia, right, is it deals 150, but if you don't have Giovanni, you can't one-shot my Darkrai. And then it discards 3 bits of energy, so I think the better play for them would be to play around the Starmie EX instead. Now they at least have the option between playing around Palkia EX or Starmie EX next turn, but it doesn't matter at this point. So since Lapras is left at 20 HP, we can kill it off with the ability, which means they're gonna have to swap it in a Pokemon while we have an attack up. We have the Dark Prism out, so we can hit the Starmie EX for 80 there. They summon another Articuno EX, another EX on their board, and they swap in the Palkia. Fortunately for us, they don't have a Giovanni, so our Darkrai is safe. Here we press his research into a Sabrina next speed, but we already used a supporter, so we can't use a Sabrina. But we do have 2 lives here. We have 3 lives, but effectively 2 if Darkrai dies. So I end up just swinging, or because Palkia used the Dimensional Storm, they're down 3 energy, so I end up just swinging. They're probably gonna swap. They can either kill our Darkrai with Palkia Slash or the Starmie, but we already have 1 point, so they're gonna have to survive 50 health next turn. So what we can do here, right, is if we draw into a Darkrai at all, we're gonna win the game. If we draw into a Weavile, we're gonna win the game here. And so we end up drawing into Weavile, which is gonna one-shot the Palkia because it already has damage on it. That's the game. Here's another matchup in the water. We go first. We end up drawing into Sneasel plus Weavile and a Pokeball, so pretty likely that we're gonna end up with Darkrai combo. However, we're looking for the Dawn so we can one-shot this Manaphy. Presses research into another research. Unfortunately, no Dawn. They draw. They research as well and Pokeball, so they're drawing like almost like half their deck at this point. They play another Manaphy, an Eevee, and a Palkia EX. And so this combo, basically, Manaphy is going to Oceanic Gift, which attaches 2 water energies to their backline. And if they have Vaporeon, they can evolve it into a Vaporeon, and then Vaporeon's ability Wash Out lets them rearrange their water energy in any way they want. So if they have an X-Speed, they can X-Speed in the Palkia and then hit us for a Dimensional Storm on their second turn, which is super, super strong. Now, if we drew into the Dawn here, we'd be able to one-shot the Manaphy, which means they'd be down in energy. So they can't do that combo anymore with them, even if they had an X-Speed, since they only have 3 total energy on the board instead of 4. Right now they have 3, but then they're going to have 4 next turn, right? Because of the turn-by-turn energy. It would go from 2 on their board to 3 total, so they wouldn't be able to one-shot us with Dimensional Storm yet. Unfortunately, we don't hit the Dawn on our hard draw, so we're going to just poke with Darkrai EX, I believe. It's going to be a pass. They Misty, and here's where we just straight up lose the game. They flip 2 heads on their Misty, which gives them just so much tempo. So they're able to use a Dimensional Storm right here, right now, to one-shot our Weavile, but they end up greeting because they're honestly in a position to do so. We take 2 turns to kill Palkia EX no matter what, and we have to kill the Manaphy as well. So we can kill the Manaphy here, but it is what it is, right? Even if we killed off that Manaphy, they still have a Dimensional Storm next turn because they hit the 2 waters on Misty. So from here, doesn't even matter that they didn't hit a Vaporeon because we're just gonna get one shot. They still have 3 energy left, so next turn they can Dimensional Storm us. And from this point, no matter what, we're getting one shot next turn, so it's GG's. But yeah, I mean, I think this matchup is for sure playable, right? You can one-shot Manaphy if you're lucky enough to get your Dawn, but if they hit like more than 1 energy off Misty, like they're gonna win against every deck basically, because that's only a 25% chance on their Misty. So I rate this matchup as going either way, just based on luck, but I think our deck is a lot more consistent. For them to do the one-shot combo on turn 2, they need to draw Manaphy, Eevee, Vaporeon, and Palkia EX, and Pokecom is going to help them a bit with that, but hitting all 4 of those cards together is not terribly likely. Now I say that, but also our Darkrai plus... Now I say that, at the same time... No, I say that, but at the same time, our Darkrai plus Weavile plus Sneasel combo plus Dawn is also 4 different cards, but we don't need that combo to one-shot Manaphy. We could have done it with a Farfetch'd, and we could have done it with a lucky Sneasel. But yeah, this game is just over. The moment they hit 2 heads with Misty, the game's over. But yeah, that's all the replays I got. Hope you learned something from those. I definitely want to stream more with this deck. It's super, super fun playing at a high tempo. So if y'all want to learn more about the deck, follow me on Twitch, YouTube, or TikTok, and I'll be streaming there on all platforms. You can drop in and watch how I play against other different matchups. One notable one is against Mewtwo, because Dark deals bonus damage against Psychic. I think this deck matches up really well against Mewtwo because we can out-tempo them with a 2-shot before they get their Mewtwo ramped up or a Gardevoir on the board. That's going to be a wrap for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Super, super excited that Space Time Smackdown is now out. I'm live streaming the game and battles every day on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. And I'll also be posting new deck lists here on YouTube, as well as on Shorts, TikTok, and Instagram Reels. These videos will be long-term content where I go into deep dives of the matchups for the decks, as well as each card on the deck list. Whereas the short videos will be about 1 or 2 minutes, and you can get the deck list right there. Super, super fast. So yeah, hope you follow me on all the platforms, whichever ones you use, and I hope you enjoyed the new set. I think all the art is super awesome, so I'm super excited to stream for y'all. And yeah, enough said. Hope you learned something from this video. If you tried it out, let me know in the comments down below. Climb on.